Loud voices are more important. Can you hear me? Loud voices are more important. Can you hear me? Loud voices are more important. They tell me that loud voices are more important because the quiet ones are still water that run deep. And we don't want to fish in, we don't want to dive in, we don't want to know what they're thinking. Loud voices win election campaigns and poetry slams. Quiet ones write poems in notebooks on folded pages, keep them under the bed until they find someone worthy enough to read them. Read them. Read me, read you, read the books we are told we cannot read, read the words we cannot say, read to us, read to each other, read to our children, read because it's not about how loud your voice is or how quiet your voice is. The point is you have a voice and you need to use it. Hi, my name is Melizarani Selva. On most days, I am a journalist. On every other day, I am a spoken word poet. And I have a question. If I told you right now that this is a safe space, would you believe me? In my 27 years of existence, many people have walked into my life and declared a space as safe to me. When I was 4, my father moved my entire family from Port Lang to Subang Jaya. We moved into a terrace house with a playground 200 meters away. It eventually became a gated and guarded neighborhood with smoke alarms in place and a regular police patrol. He called it our home. He called it our safe space, and I believed him. Until I realized that no amount of fire drills could save my family from each other. In secondary school geography class, I learned that the peninsula Malaysia is at one of the most strategic locations in the world. Situated alongside the Straits of Malacca and the South China Sea, just outside the Pacific Rim of Fire, my country is declared safe from most natural disasters. But we never talk about whether we are safe within the confines of our borderlines, or whether our classrooms are a space that we can be ourselves in without being bullied. Every August and September, the leaders of my country remind me that the word safe is a noun with many synonyms that are not necessarily in the same dictionary. Safe, noun. From orang asing, penjajah, colonialism. Safe, noun. Censorship, saving face. National security. Safe, noun. Merdeka, merdeka, merdeka. But every other day, I am asking myself the question, is my country safe for me? Is it safe for the truth to be told? As a poet, I am told that the safest place is within a poem. And every day, I try to believe that, even though sometimes I don't understand what that necessarily means. In every place in this world, there is a poetry open mic on the highest floor of a shop lot, or in underground bomb shelters, or in someone's kitchen. And in these unlikely spaces, you will find people of all languages, of all ages, and you will hear their poems. And they will tell you their stories. I write poetry to tell the truth without compromise. I write poetry because it is the only way I know how to talk about what is important to me. When a poem is born onto a page or a stage for 3 minutes, the poet and the audience are invited into a safe space designed for a truth to exist. All eyes are on the poet and all ears are on the poem. And for 3 minutes, we exist in the same truth, in the same narrative, in the same space. No one needs to call it a safe space because it is understood. It could be a big truth or a tiny truth. In my poems, I write about boys and loving. I write about girls and unloving. I write about what it means to be a woman, what it means to be an Indian woman, a Malaysian Indian woman, and sometimes I also write about Baskin-Robbins Jamocha almond fudge ice cream with extra fudge and extra almonds in all its glory and sin. But each poem will spark a conversation. Because when you write your truths in your poems and speak them out, you invite more people to experience your most honest self. And in turn, they become more aware of their own narrative and what matters to them. No matter how loud your voice is or how quiet your voice is, the poem will prevail. And someone in the room will say, hey, I felt that. Or, hey, we really need to talk about this. And for a little while, we are not alone. I believe that we need to create more safe spaces. And this does not require us to build higher walls or metal gates or longer declarations. We can achieve this with a poem. Any one of you can write a poem. And it doesn't have to rhyme, and it doesn't have to have profound meaning. A poem can choose to step out of a closet and talk about the colors of a rainbow. A poem can be a sajak, a puisi, a 4-stanza manifesto about something that happened to you. A poem can be an ultimate rap verse to call out pretentious hipsters, or a chorus line about cultural appropriation, or a bilingual verse about the gentrification of SS-15 and the lack of soybean trucks. All a poem has to be is honest. In every city of this world, you will hear poems from people who look like you and the ones who don't. You will read your poems to them, and they will all snap their fingers and say, hey, thanks, I really needed to hear that. In my 7 years of writing and performing poetry, I have learned to find the safety in my words. And every time I am on stage, I wish to put forth that safety for others. For a long time, I thought that all of us equally have the same amount of words to choose from. But in 2009, following our country's most prominent legal battle, also known as the Allah ban, I realized that a word can be revoked from my vocabulary. This begs the question of what words are mine and what words are yours and what words are ours. But you see, this word continues to exist for as long as I am a citizen of the Selangor state. For as long as I sing along to the state anthem, this word will continue to exist. So I wrote this poem. This poem is for the word I cannot say. This poem is for the child I used to be, standing straight in my school assembly, singing along to the Selangor state anthem with a silence between its words. And so I invite you into this space and into this poem. This poem is called Blank. Duli yang maha mulia, selamat di atas takhta. Lanjutkan usia tuanku, rakyat mohon restu, bawa duli tuanku. Blank was what they told me to fill in instead of the A word, or Tuhan, or God, or Jesus, or Buddha, or Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, Lakshmi, or Saraswati. We'll figure it out eventually, but for now, it's blank. That they told me, the little girl in the navy blue pinafore, to say every time she stood up straight and sang with all her heart, remember, when we get to that part, you say blank, which is be silent and then finish the rest, Maybe that's why she never became a singer. Instead, she was a poet who still struggled to memorize words that were for her to recite and not realize deeper meanings and understand why she had to spoil the rhythm of the song because they decided what was right from wrong, but never told her what to say when someone asked, "How come you never say blank?" As a sheet of paper, she wrote down her name, age, and classification of which blank she preferred to bow her head to. She was I, and I wondered if blank existed and what blank looked like. Did blank wear long dresses or a suit and tie? Or did blank speak English, Tamil, Chinese, or Malay? Or was blank here to stay during sunny days and stormy weather? I was never sure. If blank could spot me out of the 7 billion people or hear my voice against the whines and whimpers of believers asking their wishes to be granted. But is their blank different from my blank? Or are we all just blank trying to fill in the blank? We keep quiet all that we do not understand, comprehend the fragments of experience through open eye meditation and the sound of silence resonating Om. As I put my palms together in front of colorful deities for 10 years, but saying, "Our Father, who art in heaven," when I know deep down that the only attention I was vying for was from my father who was upstairs taking a shower, who educated me and explained that Islam is a profound religion whose worshippers need no location of worship to worship, just a direction, and cautioned me never to trample on hungry ghost offerings on sidewalks, taught me that Christmas is more important than Santa Claus, and if we lit candles by the altar, we would be blessed, and that every temple is a GPS, an antenna, to give us better reception to the higher power, which I still refer to as blank. And I believed every threat of, if you cross this line, then prepare to meet your maker. But what will I tell my children if they were made out of love from one man's blank and another woman's blank, not knowing which blank they really belong to? Because blank is not a word. Blank is not a state of mind. Blank is what we're still waiting to define, the divine. But I don't know when, and I don't know how. Till then, I am blank.